Push the start back a little bit just so to make sure that there's just a bunch of white stuff on the road, and so I don't know what that is, but we don't have that in Florida. But it's great to be here with you. We've really enjoyed our time here. It's been a great honor to be a part of this, and I'm grateful that you would come out tonight because we are a week away. In fact, we are not just a week away, we're almost exactly a week away. You're 5 minutes now from 7 p.m., which means at this exact time, a week from tonight, you're going to go to a caucus center here in the state. And you are going to be the first people in America who get to begin to answer this following question. What comes next for this great country? We know what's come before. What's come before is 2 centuries of exceptionalism. There has never been a nation like the United States in the history of all mankind. It is time we start teaching our kids that again, by the way, that this is a special country. Special because we were founded on a powerful truth that our rights do not come from government. Our rights come from God, that it is our Creator. It is why we believe, it is why I believe so deeply, so passionately, that all human life is worthy of the protection of our laws. It is why we have embraced free enterprise. It's why we embraced individual liberty. And I believe it is at the core of what made this the most unique and exceptional nation in all of human history. That is who we have been for over 2 centuries. But the reason why you are here tonight, and the reason why you care so much about this election, is because you know that 2016 will be a turning point in our nation's history. Because the last 7 years have put in danger everything that makes America special. In 2008, there was elected a president in this country who, for the first time, at least in my lifetime, we had a president that wasn't interested in simply fixing the problems in America. We elected a president who wanted to change America, who wanted to make this country more like the rest of the world. This explains a lot of the things that have happened over the last 7 years. This explains an all-out assault against the Constitution, executive orders that border on lawlessness, ignoring the Constitution, a Constitution that's undermined consistently, whether it's the Second Amendment or our religious liberties under assault. A president that undermines the private sector. He thinks government creates jobs. And a president who believes America is an arrogant global power that needs to be cut down to size. And so he cuts deals with our enemies like Iran. He betrays our allies like Israel. He apologizes for America. And he's gutting our military. You are here tonight because you understand that if we stay on the road we are on right now, we are going to be the first Americans ever that leave their children worse off than themselves. And you're frustrated. And you have every right to be angry. Because our children deserve to inherit what we did, the single greatest nation in the history of mankind. And so that's why what you are going to do a week from right now is going to be so important. You see, we have only 2 ways forward. We can either be greater than we have ever been, or we can remain and become a great nation in decline. If Hillary Clinton is elected president of the United States, or Bernie Sanders for that matter, everything Barack Obama has done to this country will remain in place and grow even bigger. If Hillary Clinton is elected president, Obamacare is not going anywhere. It becomes permanent. If Hillary Clinton is elected president, these illegal, unconstitutional executive orders are not going anywhere. They become permanent. If Hillary Clinton is elected president of the United States, she will appoint up to 3 new Supreme Court justices who will continue to undermine and ignore the Constitution instead of apply it as originally intended. If Hillary Clinton is elected president of the United States, our military will continue to grow weaker, and our role in the world will continue to diminish. That's why she cannot win. That's why we must win this election. Because what's at stake is not simply which political party will govern America. What is at stake is our very identity as a nation and as a people. That's what's at stake here. And that's why what you're about to do is so important. And that's why I hope that tonight I can earn your support in the caucuses that are now just 7 days away from this very moment. I can tell you that if I'm your nominee, we are going to win this election. We will win this election because I will unite the Republican Party. No one else running for president can unite the Republican Party faster than I can when this contest is over. And it's been a heated contest and will continue to be one. But I can unite the Republican Party. But not only will I unite the Republican Party, if you nominate me, I will go out and create and recruit new conservatives to our cause. And you know how I'm going to recruit them? Because I'm going to go to people who grew up like I did, who come from where I come from the same background and the same challenges. And we are going to convince them that conservatism is the right way forward for them and for America. And that's why Hillary Clinton does not want to run against me. That's why they attack me more than any other Republican, because they know that if they run against me, they will lose. Hillary Clinton does not want to run against me, but I cannot wait to run against her. She knows that she cannot lecture me about people living paycheck to paycheck, because I grew up paycheck to paycheck. I have lived paycheck to paycheck. And many of the people in my family whom I love dearly, who are nurses and firefighters and teachers, are living paycheck to paycheck now. She knows she can't lecture me about student loans, neither can Bernie Sanders, because I had a student loan. I had a student loan 3 years ago. It was over $100,000. And I never would have paid off that loan had I not written a book. It's called An American Son. It's now available on paperback, if you're in. And Hillary Clinton cannot lecture me about how hard it is on families in the 21st century, because my wife Jeanette and I are raising 4 children in the 21st century. And we know personally, firsthand, how hard it is today to ensure that your children grow up with the values that you teach at home and in your church, instead of the values they keep trying to ram down our throat in the popular culture. If they run against me, they lose, and they know it. If you nominate me, we win, and we can turn this country around. You deserve a nominee that is upset and angry and frustrated about the direction of our country, because it's headed in the wrong direction, and Washington is out of touch. And you have every right to be angry and frustrated at Washington. It's why I ran for the Senate. In 2009, I ran for the Senate against the sitting governor of Florida, who at the time was a Republican. And the entire Republican leadership in the Senate told me that they would not support me, and in fact would undermine me if I did. But I ran because I knew that America was headed in the wrong direction. And I wanted my next senator to be someone that would stand up against that, not go along with it. And we won. And now, last year, when I announced I was running for president, because I know that the only way to reverse the damage done by a bad president is to elect a good president, the same people appeared again. And they told me the exact same thing. You can't run. We've already picked our candidate. We've already lined up behind someone who's been waiting a long time and is going to raise all the money. He's going to have all the endorsements. And they told me they would come against me, and they've kept their word on that. They've spent over $20 million attacking me. And that $20 million is not $50 grassroots checks. These are multi-million-dollar checks from the establishment of our party. And I ran despite all of that, because we as a party cannot keep electing the next person in line. We cannot just keep electing the people they tell us to vote for. If we do, we lose. If we do, nothing changes. If we do that, we will not be able to turn this country around. After 7 years of Barack Obama, this is no time for patience. This is a time for urgency. If we get this election wrong, there may be no turning back or around for America. If you nominate me, we will win. And when I win, here's exactly what I'm going to do, because the second thing you deserve is a candidate for president that will tell you exactly what they are going to do. It is not enough for our nominee to be angry. It is not enough for our nominee to be frustrated. Our nominee has to be someone that tells people exactly what they will do to turn this country around. And I am here tonight to answer your questions about that. But I want to point to a few things in specific. First, I'm going to take the oath of office. Don't underestimate how important that is. The oath of office means I'm going to put my left hand on the Bible and my right hand in the air. And I am going to swear to protect and defend and uphold the Constitution of the United States. And unlike Barack Obama, I will actually do that. And I mean defend the entire Constitution. The religious liberties that our Americans are entitled to, that is their God-given right, I will defend. Our Second Amendment that Barack Obama is undermining, we will defend. By the way, it's outrageous. It's in the news just a few moments ago. You know there was an investigation of Planned Parenthood? Well, apparently a district attorney in Texas decided to clear Planned Parenthood. They've done nothing wrong. Guess who got indicted? The two people who filmed the videos. This is where we're heading towards. The two people who exposed the wrongdoing of Planned Parenthood have now been indicted by a grand jury. But Planned Parenthood's been cleared. This is just another example of why we are headed in the wrong direction as a nation, as a people, as a country, as a government. As soon as I take the oath of office, I'm going straight to the Oval Office. And when I get to the Oval Office, I'm sure Barack Obama's left some of those famous pens around. I am going to take one of those pens, and I am going to reverse and wipe out every single one of Barack Obama's unconstitutional executive orders. Every single one of them. All of those crazy EPA rules that are hurting agriculture and business in America, on my first day in office, those rules are gone. This policy that they now have, where we are using federal taxpayer money to pay for abortions in other countries, on my first day in office, that stops. That ends. I believe that our schools belong to our parents, our teachers, our principals, our school boards, not the federal government. And that's why on my first day in office, Common Core stops. And people are going to know that America, once again, is firmly on the side of Israel. You know how they're going to know that? Because on my first day in office, I am going to cancel Barack Obama's ridiculous deal with Iran. It ends. We are going to rebuild the U.S. economy. We are going to make this country, once again, the easiest and the best place in the world to create the best paying jobs of the 21st century. That means we're going to fix our tax code, so you don't keep forcing companies and businesses to leave America. That means we're going to roll back these crazy regulations. We're going to fully utilize all of our energy resources. We are going to save Social Security and Medicare and help bring our budget under balance. We are going to rebuild the U.S. economy by re-embracing free enterprise. We're going to deal with Obamacare once and for all when I'm president. We're going to get rid of it. We're going to repeal it. Every candidate running as a Republican will tell you they're against Obamacare. I am the only candidate running for president that has ever done any damage to Obamacare. Because in 2009, when they passed it, they created a bailout fund with your money. They were going to use your taxpayer money to bail out private insurance companies who lost money in Obamacare. Well, in 2014, I led the effort, and we wiped out the bailout fund. And a lot of the experts are now saying Marco Rubio did a terrible thing. He got rid of the bailout fund. It's going to lead to the collapse of Obamacare. Yes, I hope so. But whether it does or it doesn't, when I am president of the United States, we are going to repeal Obamacare, and you will once again be in charge of your health insurance. An issue that I know a lot about. In fact, an issue that I know more about than anyone, I believe, who has ever run for president, personally know more about, is the issue of immigration. You see, my father was an immigrant, and so was my mother, and my grandparents, and my wife's entire family. And I grew up in a community of immigrants, and I still live in a community of immigrants. So when I talk about this issue, it's not because I know about it from reading a book. It's because I've lived it. I know every aspect of it, the good and the bad and the ugly. I've seen its abuses, and I've seen people take the citizenship of this country with extraordinary pride. I've seen it all. I can tell you that this issue, first and foremost, today, before anything else, is about keeping ISIS out of America. ISIS has shown a sophisticated understanding of foreign immigration practices. And that's why when I am president of the United States, it's not about discriminating against anyone. It's not about a religious test. Here's what it will be about. If we don't know who you are, and we don't know why you're coming, when I am president of the United States, you are not getting into the United States of America. As the son of immigrants, I know that securing our border is not anti-immigrant. It is what every country in the world endeavors to do. It is what every sovereign country in the world has a right to do. And when I'm president, we will finally do it. We will hire the additional 20,000 Border Patrol agents that we need, instead of the 20,000 IRS agents that Barack Obama wants. We will finish the 700 miles of fencing and walls that the experts tell us we need. We will put in place a mandatory E-Verify system, and we will put in place a biometric entry-exit tracking system to prevent people from overstaying visas. That's 40% of the problem right there. And we're not going to have amnesty. I do not support amnesty, and I will not as president. When I'm president of the United States, there's going to be real consequences for violating our immigration laws. For example, criminal aliens are going to be immediately deported, and sanctuary cities, when I'm president, are going to lose their federal law enforcement funding. The last thing that I want to talk to you about is the most important thing, and that's providing for our national security. You see, that's the reason why we have a federal government. We don't have a federal government to run our schools. That's what school boards do, and parents and teachers and principals. That's why I don't even think we need a Department of Education. But our national security, that is the most important job of a president, and that is the most important job of the federal government. And today, Barack Obama is failing us. The world is growing more dangerous, and our military, because of defense cuts, is growing weaker. The world is more dangerous than it was 7 years ago. A lunatic in North Korea has nuclear weapons. The Chinese are stealing the secrets of our companies, hacking into our computers, and building up their military. Vladimir Putin is sowing instability in the Middle East and in Europe. Iran is about to acquire $100 billion of sanctions relief, which they're going to use to fund terrorists like Hezbollah, prop up killers like Assad, rebuild their own military, and one day buy or build their own nuclear weapon. And ISIS is not just a bunch of terrorists on the back of pickup trucks, which is what Barack Obama described them as in the State of the Union almost 2 weeks ago. ISIS is the most sophisticated and well-funded jihadist group in history. They burn people alive in cages. They take little girls that are 9 and 10 years of age and sell them off as brides. You find them, they have a dozen affiliates around the world. They're starting to show up in places like Indonesia, the Philippines. We've seen what they've done in Europe, in San Bernardino. And even in Philadelphia, they inspired an attack just 3 weeks ago. In the face of all of these threats, you know what's happening to our military? Well, we are spending so little on our military now that we are on the verge of having the smallest army we have had since the end of World War II. We are on the verge of having the smallest Navy we have had in 100 years. And we will soon have the smallest Air Force and the oldest airplanes we have had in our history. How can it be that as the world grows more dangerous, we're taking away valuable weapons from our brave men and women who serve us and put their lives on the line on our behalf? That cannot continue. It is unacceptable to me that there are people running as Republicans that have voted for a budget that spends even less, that have voted for a budget that brags about how it cuts defense spending. That can't be what the Republican Party is about. When I am president of the United States, we are not cutting defense spending. When I'm president, we are rebuilding the U.S. military because the world is a safer and a better place when America is the strongest military in the world. When I'm president, we're going to have a real war on terror. Not a bunch of speeches, a real war, which means this. The best intelligence agencies in the world are going to find the terrorists for us. The best military in the world is going to destroy these terrorists. And if we happen to capture any of these terrorists alive, they're not getting a lawyer, they're not going to be told they have a right to remain silent. If we catch them alive, they are getting a one-way ticket to Guantanamo, and we are going to find out everything they know. Everything they know. And by the way, we're going to take care of our veterans. And if you're a veteran and you're here tonight, or your family members are veterans, we thank you for your service and for their service. We are grateful to you for what you've done for our country. And in that vein, let me thank the police officers and the firefighters, because they are now the first line of defense. When that was attacked in San Bernardino, you know who responded? It was the police. And they saved the lives of people by arresting and grabbing those people and bringing them down before they were able to kill more people. So if you're a police officer and a firefighter, especially our police officers, I'm tired of reading about police officers doing this and that wrong. Our police officers and our firefighters are among the bravest Americans we have in this country, and we thank you for what you're doing to keep us safe. We're not taking care of our veterans now. We're not. Record number of veterans are unemployed, committing suicide, and waiting in long lines at the VA. There are good people at the VA, and I want to thank them for what they do. And there are some people at the VA that are not doing a good job. When I'm president, you work at the VA, you're not doing a good job, you'll be fired. And when I'm president, the VA benefits are going to belong to the veteran, which means our veterans, when I'm president, will be able to take their VA benefits to any hospital or any doctor that they want. This is what we need to do to turn this country around. And let me tell you that if we do these things, if we do what needs to be done, I believe the 21st century is going to be the greatest era in our history. I believe that we are on the verge of the greatest chapter in the amazing story of America. But we have to do it now. If with the next 4 years are anything like the last 7 years, I'm not sure the next candidates for president will be able to give you this speech. It may be too late for some of these issues. It may be too far gone. And that's why this is so important. We cannot lose this election. We must win this election, not just to keep Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders out of the White House, but to ensure that we elect someone that will actually make the difference necessary, that will actually do the things I just said and more to undo the damage Barack Obama has done to this country. Hillary Clinton cannot be president because she's disqualified from being commander-in-chief. Disqualified. She put the most sensitive intelligence information you can imagine on a private server, exposing it to foreign intelligence agencies. And Hillary Clinton cannot be the commander-in-chief because she lied to the families of the victims in Benghazi. She lied to them. And someone who lies like that cannot be president. And Bernie Sanders, he's a nice guy. He's a democratic socialist. There's not a slur. That's what he says. He's a socialist. He brags about being a socialist. I think Bernie's a pretty good candidate for president of Sweden. And I like Sweden. We want to be America. We don't need a socialist president. And we don't need a disqualified commander-in-chief. We can't just elect any Republican. Because this, at the end of the day, this election is a generational choice about what kind of country we want America to be in the 21st century. You know, America owes me nothing. I have a debt to America I'll never repay. America is not just the country I was born in. America is the country that literally changed the history of my family. My parents arrived here in 1956 with literally nothing. They barely spoke English at the time. Neither one had finished any kind of schooling of any significance. They didn't know anyone except a few relatives, and they had no money. And they struggled, and it was hard. And yet somehow, less than 10 years after they arrived, my parents owned a home in a safe and stable neighborhood. Decades later, my parents were able to retire with dignity, working as a bartender and a maid. And the most important thing of all for my parents was they lived to see all 4 of their children go on to a life even better than their own. There is no place in human history where that story would be possible. And while I'm proud of what my parents did, that story says more about America than it says about them. Because for over 2 centuries, that's the kind of country that we've been. We're not special because we have rich people. Every country has rich people. We're proud of people in this country that have been financially successful. What makes us special are the people that will never be rich. When you become a firefighter or a police officer or a nurse or a teacher, you know you're not going to become a millionaire. What you want is a job that you enjoy, that pays you enough to enjoy doing the things you like, to retire, to own a home, and to send your kids off to a better life. And if we ever lose that, we stop being a special country. The fact that so many of us have been able to achieve that here, that's what makes us special. And that is what we're on the verge of losing. You know why this was even possible? It was not an accident. We are not a special country by accident. We are a special country because of what the people that came before us did. Each generation before us for over 2 centuries, they made incredible sacrifices. Each generation in our history confronted their challenges and left the next better off than themselves. Now it's our turn. Now the time has come for us to do our part. And when I am president, we will do our part. We will embrace all of the things that made America special again, and we will apply them to the unique challenges of the 21st century. And if we do this, then here's what history is going to say about this generation. It will say that we lived in the early years of this new century in a very uncertain time. Like all the Americans that came before us, we faced challenges, big challenges. But just like the generations before us, we rose up to the task. We confronted our challenges. We embraced our opportunities. We did what needed to be done. And because we did, the American dream didn't just survive. It reached more people and changed more lives than ever before. Because we did, there was still one place on earth where anyone from anywhere could achieve anything. Because we did, America remained that one special place on this planet. Because we did what needed to be done. The 21st century was not just as good as the 20th century, it was better. It was a new American century. This is what we have a chance to do together. And this is why I want to earn your support in these caucuses. This is why tonight I'm asking you for your vote. And hopefully before you leave here tonight, you will join our efforts so that together, we, in this generation, can be the authors of the single greatest chapter in the amazing story of America. So thank you for coming tonight. I look forward to answering your questions.